Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I am George. Merry Christmas, or should I say Merry Bitcoin Christmas, because Bitcoin just formed another all-time high this morning. Bitcoin went up as high as 24,600. Bitcoin has broken the temporary resistance around 24,200 and looks like it wants to head higher. So in this video, I just want to look at Bitcoin and see what's going on and predict where it can go later today and this weekend. All right, so Bitcoin is sitting at $24,216, and that is fantastic. And that's because the temporary resistance that Bitcoin is facing is 24,200, and that is this green line. So if I zoom out a little bit, yes, there's a lot of lines, but you can see that 24,200 is the mark that Bitcoin needs to break. And right now, it did break it, and it's holding above, or at least trying to. So I think that is the most important thing we need to see, is whether or not Bitcoin can actually hold above this line. So going back a week, you can see Bitcoin tried to break through it many times, and Bitcoin wasn't until this morning. So take a look at this pump this morning, this Christmas pump. Bitcoin pretty much went from 24,000 all the way up to 24,650-ish. And it looked like it was doing good. It was hovering, but obviously some whales or people wanted to take some profits or drive things lower. So it did fall below, right? And you could see that it actually held right at this trend line. That seems to be pretty consistent at this point. Right, and then now it's climbing up, and it really, the bears and bulls are kind of fighting this 24,200 mark. So this reminds me of the 19.5 mark. Remember, in 19.5, Bitcoin couldn't break above for so long. When I say so long, relatively speaking, actually it wasn't that long, about a month or so. But right now we're seeing the same thing with 24,200. Of course, the timeline is much shorter, but if Bitcoin can hold above 24,200, that would be very encouraging. Now, I did want to show you guys a couple things. Number one is volume. Volume is actually quite low. So if I zoom out a little bit here, you could see that volume over here, enormous, right? And then you can see volume just slowly decreasing. So with volume being lighter, what does that mean? That means there is going to be volatility. So what we're seeing now is perfectly natural. We could definitely see it move up really quick. We could see more pumps later today and this weekend. And we could possibly see more retracement too. That is why we're seeing stuff like this going on right now. One last thing I want to show you guys is this trend line, this orange line that I drew out. And it shows that the low keeps getting higher and higher and higher and higher, and all the way up until yesterday it was pretty consistent, and then this morning, boom, it broke out of it. But even like an hour ago, when Bitcoin retraced and fell down a little bit, guess what? Look at the bottom wick, right? It hit that trend line almost perfectly. So this trend line is moving up, and Bitcoin is following this pretty consistently. So even if Bitcoin just goes up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, and it holds, and it's teetering at this 24.2 mark, right? If it continues, this might be the point where it breaks out, right? So it could go sideways a little bit before it starts breaking out. And if that's the case, that's tomorrow, okay? So that means we may see this whole day just up and down, up and down, up and down, and then boom, tomorrow, the weekend, we could see a breakout. So that could be a possibility. So I just want to show you guys that real quick. So lastly, where can Bitcoin head? Well, this is anyone's guess right now, but seeing how the last jump Bitcoin experienced was about 4,000 points. We're talking about 19.5 to 24,000, right? So a little bit over 4,000. So I'm thinking if Bitcoin does the same thing and then it does spike up and pumps up, we could see another 4,000 and maybe this time 5,000 point jump before settling down once again. So what does that mean? If Bitcoin jumps up 4,000, that means 28,000 is right around the corner. And if it goes up another 1,000, let's say 5,000, then we're seeing 29,000. Like I said before, after 20,000, it's anyone's guess right now. But seeing how after we broke through 19.5, Bitcoin spiked up tremendously. We're talking about 4,000, 4,500. We could see the same thing. We could see all this happen right away, right at this point at 24.2. And if we break up, next stop could be right around 28,000, 29,000, and that could be right around the corner. That could start as soon as tomorrow. Now, besides Bitcoin, some altcoins are doing good today, but for the most part, they're still kind of struggling right now against Bitcoin. Bitcoin dominance still at 68.5%, so that's how you could tell altcoins aren't really catching up. But there are some movers. For example, XRP is up from their lows, the recent lows, and also Litecoin is up pretty significantly. Others like Bitcoin Cash and Chainlink, some others are recovering, but if you look at a 7-day performance, very, very, very little has outperformed Bitcoin. Litecoin is one of them that is outperforming Bitcoin. I mentioned that in one of the videos I produced recently, right? I do think Litecoin has a good chance to outperform Bitcoin short term, but all the other altcoins right now is still kind of struggling. And the one that everyone is talking about right now is XRP. I know that you guys are wondering if XRP is a good pickup, right? It fell down as low as 22 cents recently before coming back up a little bit. So people are wondering if this is a good time to buy. In my opinion, no. And that's because there's still a lot of uncertainty at this point. MoneyGram, one of the biggest partners of Ripple, has come out. They released a press statement saying that they basically don't use RippleNet. They don't use XRP. They don't use RippleNet. They use other services, but they're trying to distance themselves away from Ripple, and that's not a good look. And there are still rumors about Coinbase and others thinking about delisting XRP. And if that happens, if Coinbase comes out and says they're going to delist XRP, that is going to cause a massive dump, and all the other exchanges will look at XRP in the same light and probably delist it as well. So there's too much uncertainty right now. I still think it's best to wait it out. I would not be getting into XRP because I think the recent rise with XRP is just because it's a dead cat bounce. It fell too hard, too fast, but I don't think it's over yet. I think it's best to just wait it out at this point. As for all the other altcoins, it's the same thing. It's just a waiting game, right? Right now, we're waiting for some money to flow out of Bitcoin into these altcoins, but with all the momentum and hype and enthusiasm and money flowing to Bitcoin, when is that stopping point, right? When does Bitcoin take a long breather where the money flows into altcoins? That's unknown at this point. At this point, we all know Bitcoin is going to go much higher. FOMO among institutions and retail investors keep growing. But short term, as long as Bitcoin can hold at 24,200 and utilize it as a new support, that would be very, very, very positive. And Bitcoin can build upon that and go much higher. So, Merry Christmas. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, and check out these other videos if you haven't already.